all the linemen acted all super happy, and I'm just like, Le'Veon as an individual is better than all those individual line. Like Marquise Pouncey isn't a top 5 center anymore. He really isn't. DeCastro is a good guard, could be elite at times, but there was a moment where we're like, is DeCastro going to be a bust? There was until he made that Pro Bowl, there's real talk that he could be really bad, and they paid him. But Le'Veon is practically a receiver and a running back, and I think somebody said it on Twitter, and I agreed with them. We went back and forth a little bit. Le'Veon might end up playing for the Indianapolis Colts, and you know what? That wouldn't be a bad landing spot. Like a guy like him, when I think of just players who could leave teams, I could see him being traded to the Colts. The Colts have the assets. They don't really have much else in terms of like consistent talent, but if they slide the Steelers some high draft picks, that might be a worthwhile trade. But the Steelers already said they're not going to trade him. This is going to get nasty, and this is going to set precedents, and whatever legal case comes after, for like when baseball, when they have arbitration and all that, except for an arbitration, like the loser has to pay the arbitrator. So like MLB or the player would have to pay the arbitrator. In this case with the NFL, if they ever get their shit together, maybe all the players could come out and stop bashing guys for wanting to get paid and say, why don't we just all get on the same union and it'll be us versus the owners. But some of those guys are stupid and don't understand that. I'm talking about Ramon Foster. And if I see him one day in real life, I'm not going to be scared. But it's just really sad. And it's kind of funny that they tied with the Cleveland Browns, a team that hasn't won a game in like almost 2 years. They talked all that shit. He wasn't there, and you couldn't beat the Cleveland Browns. And these aren't your grandfather's Cleveland Browns or your father's Cleveland Browns. These Cleveland Browns will shank you in broad daylight, take your wallet, and probably slap your girl on the ass. And nobody in your crew gonna do nothing about it, because they got Myles Garrett, and Myles Garrett is a terrifying human being if you have to block him. Their defense is legit. Like, Cleveland actually wants to come out and hurt and beat the shit out of people, and I'm here for it. So shout out to the Cleveland Browns. They've been through a lot. I'm going to give y'all a hand clap because y'all deserve it. Y'all deserve it. I hope you win. And seriously, Tyrod Taylor, yet again. Like, black quarterbacks, and I've touched on this plenty of times, and I'm going to keep doing it. And for people who listen to the show, like, why does Kenny always talk about race? Because I'm a black man in America, and I know how black men in America get treated in sports. And if you follow our podcast and our broadcast, and from day one, from journalists we've interviewed, athletes we've interviewed, hell, you can just go back and look at all the Lawndale players that we interviewed. Shout out to them. They beat Lusinger, by the way, in the Mayor's Cup, like 66-6 or 76-6. Shit was heinous. It was 51-6 at halftime. So shout out to everybody at the station that went to Lusinger High School. Your high school fucking sucks. Shout out to Lawndale. And don't get me started on Hawthorne High, because they're garbage too. I can't wait until, and I'm going to get back to what I was talking about, but I just got to do this quick high school football quick rundown. Sarah beat Long Beach Poly at Long Beach Poly, and that was a hell of a game. Like, shout out to black quarterbacks in the South Bay who were like really showing, yeah, I could actually be a D1 caliber player. You just have to give me a chance. Because I remember there was a time where a lot of cats, black QBs, weren't really getting chances as far as, like, they'd be getting recruited, but end up playing another position. And that's always been a problem with football with me, where I'm just not always going to assume that, like, all these black dudes who are great athletes and none of them can play quarterback, but it always has to be the white dude. And that's kind of been uncomfortable and unsettling for me. And I'm kind of glad that a lot of these young cats coming up in the South Bay, they're doing the damn thing. They're getting scholarships. I don't care if it's somewhere like Sac State, Montana, or wherever. I'm seeing more and more young black men getting chances to be quarterbacks and not having to compromise themselves to switch positions or anything like that. So that's good to see. And yeah, losing high school is trash. I'm not saying that because I have a beef with losing her. I'm just saying y'all lost 76-6. Stop talking shit. But anyway, back to what I was saying. Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, y'all thought I lost my point. I didn't. Tyrod Taylor, one of the most disrespected quarterbacks, especially when you look at Nathan Peterman's trash ass. And that's another thing. This dude transferred to like 3 different schools, was never a good college quarterback, but he got hyped up because, again, white quarterbacks who are trash just get hyped up. It's like literally Nathan Peterman is proving Colin Kaepernick's collusion case, and it's so funny. It's just actually kind of sad at this point because he's really bad. He was so bad they had to put in Josh Allen, and Josh Allen, of course, played like a rookie. Went 6 of 15 for 74 yards. The kid has a laser gun for an arm, and I think you just have to throw. He's your best option, even though you made a bunch of terrible choices to get there. He's your best option, and if trading away some of your actually really good players that were first-round picks that could have panned out had you actually found the right coach. Shout out to Sean McDermott for just refusing to accept the fact that starting Peterman was a terrible idea. Like, again, I don't trust Pittsburgh quarterbacks, not since Dan Marino. Name the last good one that went to the University of Pittsburgh. Can't name them. Don't even try. Not like, and this is me. I'm talking. This is me. I'm telling y'all. Don't even try. They don't exist. Tyrod Taylor, he didn't have a great. He went like 19-40. I think he had a passing touchdown and a pick, but he had 8 rushes for 77 yards, and I think a rushing touchdown. He held his own. He's a better fit for that offense. For right now, they want to start Baker Mayfield, but I really think that's a bad idea in his rookie year. Don't put the pressure of the franchise on this kid just yet. They should keep Tyrod Taylor. They're not even expected to make the playoffs this year, so really you just find a way to get better. Let this guy, let Baker Mayfield see a starting quarterback go through the lumps and the grind of a 16-game season and really get his chance, because I don't think he's as good as Darnold. Darnold went 16 for 21, had a big game against the Detroit Lions, but that's not saying much, but it kind of is, because his first ever NFL pass was a pick six. That happened to Brett Favre and somebody else who's in the Hall of Fame. And then the rest of the way, he went 16 for 20. Threw a bomb of it. He had 2 touchdowns, a pick. Played great. So I guess the Jets are back. Who knows? I'm not a Jets fan, so I'm definitely not rooting for them. But I am kind of rooting for them to get a quarterback right. And Sam Darnold is the last hope for all USC quarterbacks. If he don't work out, USC can't ever talk about the highly touted QBs that go there, because all of them have been bust. And shout out to Carson Palmer for getting a Football Life episode on NFL Network. Can't wait to see that. Now, to double back kind of with quarterbacks, and I'm not going to talk about the Raiders, but I am going to talk about the Chicago Bears and what they did with Khalil Mack. Their corners kind of got shitted on. That's a serious issue they're probably going to want to fix, especially at safety too. Mike Mitchell worked out for them. But Khalil Mack is the only human being in the history of football to have a forced fumble, a strip sack, and a pick six in the same game. He did it twice. He did it against the Panthers, and pretty much that won the game for them a couple of years ago, and he did it for the Bears, and they lost. Literally on that 75-yard touchdown catch and run that Randall Cobb had, Mack passed out in the end zone. He was like, he actually got a hand on Cobb. He ran all the way down the field to get him. Again, generational talent, and he's only going to make that defense better. But the quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, really kind of needs to work on some things. And Aaron Rodgers is superhuman because he pretty much sprained his knee We're like, oh shit, this season might be over. Deshaun Kaiser comes out, we're like, yeah, this game's probably over. Then next thing you know, Aaron Rodgers comes back and he's like, did y'all forget that I'm a football god? And yeah, he pretty much is. Threw 3 touchdowns on the fourth quarter, came back and shredded their defense. Like, for my hierarchy of quarterbacks, like Tom Brady, I'd say is like the 3rd or 4th best QB in the league. I'm not going to say he's any lower than 5. But he's 3 or 4. I'd say Phillip Rivers might be 4. But the best quarterbacks in the league right now, today, Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees. Even in a losing effort with the Saints, and he threw for like almost 500 yards and 3 touchdowns, no picks. I think he still completed like over 70% of his passes. And they lose to the Buccaneers in like the craziest game ever, 48-40. Ryan Fitzpatrick played the game of his life, which probably won't happen again. Which is another cause, because then Jameis Winston serving a 4-game suspension. He comes back, he might have already lost the team, and he hasn't even played yet. And that whole Tampa Bay situation is crazy, because they end up folding and not making the playoffs. I think Cutter should get fired. I don't see why a guy who was a marginal head coach at Arizona State, who pretty much just was gifted a job in Tampa Bay as a head coach. I mean, yeah, he was offensive coordinator, but Lovie Smith did the work to put that roster together when it was a total heaping pile of shit. And it just kind of amazes me that, you know, they do him like that. But hey, such is life. Couple injury updates. Gerard Williams, right tackle for the Carolina Panthers, out for the year. Deion Jones got hurt. He's gonna be injured out most of the season, but he'll be back. Greg Olsen refractured his foot, which was really nasty. For the Panthers, he's pretty much just gonna take his time, try to come back when he can. He's had a hell of a career, a hell of a turnaround of a career, because he was dead in the water with the Chicago Bears and Mike Martz trying to have him block when really he should have been out catching passes. And that trade to Carolina revived his career a lot. I think he had 3 1,000-yard receiving seasons as a tight end. Like, that's crazy. Went on a phenomenal run. But again, when we're talking about the future, they have Ian Thomas, rookie tight end out of Indiana. And speaking of rookies who had great games, Dante Jackson, LSU corner, played really good. And the biggest rookie performance of all, arguably, Saquon Barkley out of Penn State. He was everything that we thought he was as a player. Against the Jaguars defense, I mean, Eli threw a pick 6, but I think it was like a bobble pass. He had 18 carries, 108 yards, and a touchdown, and a 68-yard touchdown run. That dude is big time. And they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, a.k.a. the Cowgirls, a.k.a. they're just soft. And the receivers for Dallas are kind of really shitty. And they can just hone in on Ezekiel Elliott, which means Dak Prescott has to win them games, and no one has really that much faith in Dak Prescott outside of his teammates. And Landon Collins, for the all-pro safety for the Giants, pretty much said, we just have to take away Zeke and make the other guys beat us, and we really don't think they can do that. So it'll be interesting to see the Giants' defense against that Cowboys offense. But my fantasy team is relying on the Giants' offense against the Cowboys' defense, because I got Odell Beckham Jr., Sterling Shepard, and Evan Ingram all on my fantasy team, and I won last week, by the way. So that's dope. Also, this one's kind of baffling. Michael Kendricks, who was cut by the Cleveland Browns, and he pleaded guilty to insider trading. His trial still is on the way. Pretty much he's been reported to sign with the Seahawks for a 1-year deal. And that tells me something. That they kind of don't want to put the rookie linebacker Shaquem Griffin out there